tax farmers. Yeah, like that.
No, I don't know. It looks like it. It might not be. They produce that all year round some places. Okay, learning sponsors. A Year of Learning by Sue and Arnie Garelick in memory of Malka Proman and Philip Mann and Yisrael David ben Rav Tzvi Hirsch, Beryl ben Rav Tzvi Hirsch, Joseph Meir ben Rav Tzvi Hirsch, and Yerivka Pro Rosner bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, and in memory of family murdered in the Holocaust. Harav Tzvi Hirsch ben Shlomo Yaakov, Sarah bat Ephraim, Yisrael David ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Ephraim ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Adia bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Miriam bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Pesel bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shalom ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shlomo Yaakov ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shmuel ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Leslie and Gail Kaplan in memory of their parents, Harry and Marjorie Sedala, Irving and Pearl Kaplan, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of Toby Paris, Saratova, Bud Yisrael Dov in her memory, Charlie Gelfenstein and Sam Levine, in memory of Ramona Levine, Rachel Mata bat Asher, friends of Nina Mornester, Nechama Asna bat Yitzchak Ahlo, many friends of Stephen Vigdor, the Zecher Nishmat Simcha Melech ben Meir Leib Halevi, friends of Marcy Kurtz in memory of her great niece, Leah Bracha. A month of learning by the friends, many friends of Lydia and Abe Krause in honor of their 50th anniversary. Mel and Haron Haller in memory of his mother, Fega Bas Yaakov. B. Pizer in memory of her stepfather, Avram Michal ben Shmuel Halevi. Josh and Carol Sanborn in memory of his parents, Chiena bat Aryeh Leib, Shmuel Aryeh ben Baruch. Jill and Perry Meltzer in memory of her father, Yaakov ben Yosef. We have a week of learning by Charlie Gelfenstein and Sam Levine in memory of Charlie's wife and Sam's sister, Menucha Sarah bat Yechiel Michal, and in memory of Sam's mother and Charlie's mother-in-law, Zissel bat Yehoshua. By Evelyn and Isaac Blachor in memory of her mother, Perel Rivka bat Harav Menachem Mendel. By Leonie Meiselman in memory of her husband, Nisan Yitzchak ben Shlomo Zalman. Today is the 7th, thank you. So we have a day of learning by Bob and Paula Bromberg in memory of his grandfather, Israel Melech ben Shmuel HaKohen. Okay? And that is it for today. And also a refuah shlema to those, as the rabbi indicated in the recitation for Tehillim. Okay. Neshamas have an aliyah, crank refuah velti yeshir Hashem atzliah, l'chol b'nei Israel a good gebench yad. Okay, a reminder, everyone, that tomorrow we'll need both your, unless somebody's going to make copies of last Amud of Chagiga, we'll need both that and the beginning, which it does make it easier for people.
Right, so
Just bring more.
No.
Vamos.
Bring your vamos and I'll provide Chagiga.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. All right, gentlemen. We're on Kaf Hey Amud Beis, 4 lines up from the bottom, with a new Mishnah and Gemara. Okay? That's where we're going to start. What?
Yeah.
No,
When I
no.
said to bring your Yavamas, I did not mean the fence, the funny street.
Okay, so those who have the Koren edition are using Koren will see that they do have a map there of where the location of Modein is in relation to Yerushalayim. Okay, I don't believe Art Scroll has a map, but we should know that that is considered an important measurement. Gemara often uses that particular distance, okay, as a general siman, a distant path, is one phrase that the Art Scroll did use in its explanation. So that's where we said yesterday that we're dealing with a geographical area. What is from Modin into Jerusalem? What is from Modin outside Jerusalem? And then what about Modin itself? Okay, so we have what we might call for the moment 3 different geographic areas, right? And we're going to go on from there in a moment. But otherwise, I want us to understand that we're also going to touch on a little ecological issue here in the Gemara, okay, as well. But let's deal with the text first,
It's
right?
about 15 kilometers.
Okay, good. Okay. All right. Matnitin, says the Gemara. Min hamodeim. The text is, and remember, sometimes it's called modein, modeim, modeit. Okay. Hakadar shehu mocher hakderot nichnas lifnim min hamodeim. Okay. The pot maker. Okay, not pot user, but pot maker. Okay, one who is makes earthenware utensils, okay, of a certain size, right? And those utensils, the question is going to be, is that what is going to be able to be used in Yerushalayim for purposes of avoda? Hakadar shehu mocher labir, right? So this utensil maker, right, earthenware, okay, that he sells these utensils, okay, he comes into the city of Modeim, okay, hu hakadar v'hein hakaderot v'hein halachim. This is this particular artisan, okay, craftsman, and the items that he brings, the earthenware jars, jugs, whatever, okay, and the purchasers, okay, those who come into Modin to buy it, okay, ne'aman, they are believed, okay, yatsa, if they're outside, okay, or they leave, Eino ne'aman, they are not believed. So what are they believed about? Whether these utensils that are made have been made in Tahara. Okay, and therefore he can bring. Okay, that's what we're going to get to, and that they therefore, if they're made in Tahara, they can be brought into Yerushalayim, into the Azara, and into be used in the Avod in some manner. Okay. Right, whatever they need it for. Tana, says the Gemara. It's taught in the Brighton. Modi'im, pa'amim kilafnim, pa'amim kilachutz. The city of Modim itself. We just said in our Mishnah that if you're within the area of, okay, in other words, from Modim into Jerusalem, that's okay. From Modim outside, it doesn't work. What about the city itself? Okay, at times it's considered like inside. At times it's considered like outside. Ketzad, how is that possible? Okay, kadar yotze v'chaver nichnas kilifnim. Okay, if the utensil maker comes from outside and the chaver, one who is meticulous, we said, is inside, it is like it's inside. Okay,
Potter is on his way out and
well, we're gonna get to that, we're gonna get, hold on a second. Okay, what does it mean he's outside? Yotze, he's outside. In other words, he is leaving the city. Okay, he is exiting the city.
And the pilgrim is.
And the individual coming into the city is a chaver, and he purchases the items. Okay,
While they both are in the city.
and before the kader has left the city limits, okay, it is considered to be as if it's within the appropriate boundary of the city. Okay, so in that case, the city is considered, let's call it acceptable.
Within the bound.
Okay, what happens? Shnehen nichnesim, if the two of them are entering, o shnehen yotzim, or both of them are exiting, kilachutz. Okay, in other words, if he acquires that item while they're both outside the city limits, okay, they haven't come in yet.
No, they're both.
Or they're
in.
both leaving. Okay,
No, they
okay.
both are entering. And they cross the city.
Well, it
limits of
says-
Modim,
it says-
going into a foot.
Okay, it's first, Kishnehem ba nichnasim.
If they're both on their way to.
They're in the way,
Jerusalem,
but they're still not in the
no,
city
they are in
limits.
this city.
No.
This is.
The whole question is, that putting in is sometimes considered inside or outside. So they're both
Exactly.
in the city, but because they're both entering, it's considered as if they're not in the city.
Correct.
They're both,
They're both
neither,
in this- No, they're both entering. in
they're
the city.
about to enter the
They're
city
in the
They're
city.
limits.
not about to,
actually
they're
in the
both
city.
there. But they're traveling, both are traveling toward Jerusalem.
Yeah, I
And they're
understand.
within the city limits of Modim. They have to get beyond and toward Jerusalem, beyond the innermost part of Modim before the transaction can take place.
Not quite. One, not quite.
Because the
Okay.
whole issue was they considered voting in.
Sometimes
inside or
it's in, sometimes it's out. The question is where they are located.
If they're outside, then the
Okay.
issue that the Gemara is discussing that's not the issue the Gemara is discussing. It's discussing
Forget it.
the
Let's
city's.
go
The
back.
city. Okay, O shnehem yotzim, okay, kilachutz. In that situation, okay, the city then is considered not in the appropriate boundary. That's the point, okay? Right? You can explain that they're already in. That wasn't the shot I found. Amar Abai, okay? Says Abai, Af ananami tanina. So we also teach. Hakadar shemachar takderot v'nichnas lifni. Okay, the artisan who sold his utensils, and then he comes in. Okay, v'nichnas lifnim min hamodein. Okay, Ta'ama, what's the reasoning? Dilifnim min hamodein. Okay, says Abai. All right, because he's already within the city limits. Hamodein gufa lo mehaman. This would seem to imply that modein itself, okay, the person would not be believed. Ema seifa. But I would say, look at the end statement. Yatsa, okay, if it was out, eino ne'aman, and therefore it said he's not believed. Ha modein gufa, this would seem to imply modein itself, ne'aman, that it would be, person would be believed. Okay, so which is it the Gemara wants us to clarify? We're still dealing with the question of what about the city itself. Elelav shmamina, but rather don't we learn from the following? Kan, in one case, bekadar yotze v'chaver nichnas, okay, that the kadar, okay, is on his way out, of the city, and the chaver is on his way in. Kan b'sheshnehen yotzin o shnehen nichnesin. And the other is a situation where both of them are exiting or both of them are entering. Shma mina. Indeed, that's what we learn. Okay, so there isn't necessarily a contradiction when we do the diuk here as to what the status of the city is. Okay. All right, a new piece. Tana, we learned the following. Ne'manin b'kli cheres hadakin lakodesh. We say that they are trustworthy in terms of those earthenware utensils that are of a small variety for the purposes of kodesh. Amar Reish Lakish, says Reish Lakish, V'hu shenitlan biyado echad. So what do we mean then by a kli dak? Okay, says Reish Lakish that he must be able to hold it in one hand. Okay, V'Rabbi Yochanan Amar afilu she'ein nitlein biyado echad. Even if he can't hold it, okay, in one hand. All right. In other words, it could still be considered a smaller vessel, even if it needs, okay, okay. Amar Reish Lakish. Lo shanu ela rekanin. They didn't teach it, except we're talking about empty vessels. Aval milein, if they're full, lo, that's not the case. V'Rabbi Yochanan Amar afilu mle'in, even vessels that have contents in it. Va'afilu api karsuto l'tocho, and even if his garment was one translation of afi, right? Okay, that was the case I found. Okay, so what happens? Even if he has a piece of a garment or cloth in this jug, okay, or in this utensil, okay? Now, why would we be concerned about his having a piece of cloth in there? Okay, it's possible that that particular piece of cloth could have been midras through midras. That could be the case. Could be.
And how can you have something in it that's tame and it is still
right? That's going to be the question. Va'amar Rabba, says Rabba, umode Rabbi Yochanan, b'mashkin atzmam shehein tmei. But Rabbi Yochanan would acknowledge that it's possible that you could have a liquid inside the utensil that could be tame. Va'al titma, and don't be surprised. Right? Like, in other words, you could have the utensil be considered tahor, but the contents of the utensil of a liquid variety be considered tameh. We're going to see. That's why the Gemara says va'al titma. Okay, and that's why the Gemara says don't be surprised. Why? Shaharei lagin malay mashkin, because we have pitchers that contain liquids, okay, that could be full of liquids. Lagin tmein tumat shiva, that liquid, the contents could be tuma, could be tame tuma shiva. Umash, right? The log, the pitcher itself could be tumas shiva, mashkin taharim. And we could have a situation where the contents are tahor of the, okay? So if there's the implication seems to me, if you could have a situation where the pitcher itself is tameh and the contents are tahor, aren't the opposite possible as well? You wanted to share a thought.
Min HaTorah, that can't happen. But all of this whole section, when we were talking about the different levels of tumah, that it's okay for pulling, but not for meiser, et cetera, all the way up to to matas. All of this is the Rabbanan. And since this is all the Rabbanan, they have the ability to relax the rules for when you're traveling to Jerusalem for Yom Tov. They have the right to make the rules even inconsistent when it comes to putting something tameh and the keli is still tahor or vice versa. But on a Torah level, everybody who's wondering would have been right. It can't happen that way on a Torah level. But everything we're talking about is actually tahor on a Torah level. We only pretend that it's tumas medras for Oretz. We only pretend the kelim are tameh if they're outside of Moedim. So this is all. So you and then just nobody mentioned the reason for all of this is because there was a takana you weren't allowed to make kelim in Yerushalayim.
Well, we'll get to that. Hold on. We'll get to that. The Gemara deals with that. Okay. So in any case, the point is we've defined that the use of certain utensils within a certain parameter of Jerusalem, okay, that situation. We go on now to a different case, a different situation, new Mishnah. Hagabain, and here we're going to call the Gabain here the tax collectors, okay? Shenichnesu letoch habayit, that enter one's house, okay? Why might they enter one's house? Okay, in other words, it could be that the person owes something and they're going to say to the one who owes it, we're going to take this as collateral so that you will then come and pay your tax.
Oh, Bubby's life there.
Okay, so what happens? Okay, so v'chein haganavim shechziru et hakelim, and likewise thieves, okay, that return the stolen objects. Ne'amanim lo nagan, they are believed to say we did not have contact with any other things in the house. Why? Because we might assume that they could have been tameh, ameh haaretz, or whatever. Okay? Ubiyerushalayim ne'emanim al hakodesh. They are even in Jerusalem believed when they testify something is on the level of kodesh. Ubishat haregel af al hatruma. And during the time of the Shlosh Regalim, then they are even believed to be when they testify regarding Truma as well. Okay? Now, couple quick questions and then we go on with the Gemara. Okay? Why these two categories, number one? Number two, why during the Shas Haregel are they to be believed? Things like that, the Gemara is going to address some of these issues. Urminhe, but we'll challenge this with the following. Hagabain shenichnesu letoch habayit, habayit kulo tameh. This is a different brayta that says challenges it and contradicts. Okay? V'lo kasha, says the Gemara, that's not a problem. Ha, the ika nochri bahadayu. In one case, we say they have a Gentile along with them. Ha, the leka nochri bahadayu. And in the other case, we say they don't have a Gentile along with them. Ditznan, as we learn the following, right? Im yesh nachri imahen, if there is a Gentile along with them, ne'emanin lomar lo nichnesu, they are believed to say they did not enter. Aval ein ne'emanim lomar nichnasnu aval lo naganu, but they are not believed to say we entered, but we didn't touch, handle anything. Okay? And if there is a Gentile along with them, what's the big deal? Okay? Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar. There's a slight machloket here between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar. Chad Amar, Eimat Nachri Alehen. One says it is the fear about this Gentile that is upon them, and that's the reason. V'chad Amar Eimat Malchut Aleihen. And the other says it is the fear of the government authorities upon them. So what might be the difference here? One might be Eimat Nachri is that this Gentile is their superior. Okay? In other words, they are tax collectors for the government, and this Gentile Roman authority is there, watching. The other, B'chad Eimat Malchut Alehen, okay, at least the pshat that I saw was that this Gentile might report them, okay, and that they didn't do an adequate search of certain things in the household and would report them to the government authorities. So that would be a different reason, okay? My Beinahu, says the Gemara. So what then is really the difference between them? Ika Beinahu, Nachri She'eno Chashuv. The difference between them then is that the Gentile does not hold any status, is not a person of significance. In other words, not somebody.
He's not gonna take action himself, he'll turn up.
Whatever.
Pick it up the
Okay.
ladder.
V'chein haganavim. So now we go, so that dealt with the tax collectors. Now we go to the Jewish, we assume Jewish thieves, okay, who are doing tshuva, right? V'chein haganavim shehechziru et hakelim. And likewise, the thieves that returned the objects were minhei, and we again have a challenge with this. Haganavim shenichnesu letoch habayit eino tamei ela makom drisat raglei haganavim, says this text. Okay, these thieves entered the house, and they're only what is tamei is the area where they actually stepped through the house. Okay, Amar Rav Pinchas Mishmei the Rav, in the name of Rav, Keshe'asu tshuva. Okay, we're talking about the fact that they're believed when they did repent. Okay,
That's why they bring it back.
okay, so A, they bring it back, and B, then we say that Adus is acceptable. Okay, Daikanami, and this seems exactly the case based on our language. The Katani, why? Because it says Shech Ziru at the Kelim, that they returned the items, stolen items. Okay, and we understand from that why did they return the stolen items? Because they did Shuva. Shmamina. That's what we learned from it. New piece. V'Yushalayim ne'emanim al hakodesh. And we said that in Jerusalem they are trustworthy regarding the Kodesh. What is right? Tana taught right. Ne'emanim al kli cheres. We say here that they are trustworthy. Okay, on kli cheres gasin lakodesh. Okay, even now regarding large earthenware utensils. Okay, we're also saying that they're trustworthy on those, not just on the smaller ones, like we saw in the previous mission. The kol kachlama, why is that the case? She'ein osin kivshonot b'Yushalayim, because we do not make a kivshon kilns in Jerusalem. Okay, we're afraid that all the smoke that would come out from these things would schmutz up the walls of Jerusalem. Okay, all right, and therefore, from that point of view, okay. Well,
the other shot is that it dilutes the Torah.
okay. So what happens? What's going on? V'sha'at haregel af ala truma. And at the time of the Shlosh Regalim, we say also in regards to they're trustworthy on Truma as well. Menahani Mili, what is the biblical basis for this? Amar Rabbi Yoshua, he says, Ben Levi, the following. Da'amar Kra, there's a pasuk. V'yasof kol ish Yisrael el ha'ir ki ish echad chaverim. That they've all gathered into the city like one person I'm going to say in friendship, in
The him
unity.
means like chaveru.
Well, I don't
That's
know.
why he darshans
No,
that
I
the
don't know.
believable
I'm not
anishinda.
like that. Hakatuv asa'an kulan chaverim. That's the drasha.
Right.
That's the drasha. That it's as if the text says it makes them all like they are chaverim. Okay, that wasn't. Maybe that was the
That's not simple pshat, but that's the drasha.
That's the drasha. That's maybe Art Scroll gave that. Koren didn't give that pshat. Okay.
Let's give it here.
What?
Gives it here.
Okay. Matnitin, a new Mishnah. Hapoteach et cha'avito. Va'amatchil be'esato al gav hareg. Okay. You have your liquor store and you opened up, right, a few bottles for Yom Tov, right, because somebody wanted, all right, to try whatever. Okay. Or you're the baker and you started baking and put all that together. Okay, what are you doing, right? So what happens? Al gabe regel, Rabbi Yehuda Omer Yigmor. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it says you can finish, namely you can continue to use and sell after the holiday. Okay, the Chachamim Omrim Lo Yigmor, and the sages say pasnished. Okay, you cannot. Okay, Gemara tells us as follows: Yativ Rabbi Ami v'Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha. The two of them, Rabbi Ami v'Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha. Akila de Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha. They were sitting on his. One translation I had said in his courtyard. Another said his porch. Okay. Either way, they were out having a whatever, and they had this little discussion. Patachad, one of them started, Va'amar Mahu Shiyinichena l'regel acher. What about, couldn't he leave it over to the next holiday? Close it up, close up the bottle, whatever.
Freeze the
Shmuel,
rolls.
if you can just get up for a second, Juice has to take that out. Okay. He has to go this way. Okay. No, he has to.
Sit in one place. This way? Okay. Okay, go. And exit.
All right, come in this way. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So what about leaving it to the next holiday? Amar le'idach. The other one said, Yad hakom mimash machine ba. Hey, you've got all these people that may have handled or may have touched or may have had contact. Okay, after all, it's right. You got everybody coming in, right? Va'at amart yinichena l'regel acher, and you say leave it over to the next holiday. Amale, he said to him, Atu ad ha'idna lav yad hakom machine ba. Up to this point, you're saying people, okay, nobody's touched it. People haven't handled it. Amarle hachi hashta. Here now, what are you making a comparison with this? Bishlema ad ha'idna tumat am haaretz v'regel rachmana tahara. Upwards, all right. When we say that up to this point, any kind of tumah regarding an am haaretz vis-a-vis the holiday, okay, rachmana tahara, okay, the Torah has basically indicated that we can say it's tahara. Okay, Ela hashta tmeyahi, but now it's clearly after the holiday. We're saying it's clearly no way that you can say that it's tahor. It's got to be tameh. Name a kitanai. Let's say that this is actually machloket tanaim. The Tanei Chada, that one teaches yinichena l'regel acher. One teaches leave it over to the next holiday. V'tanya idach, and another teaches lo yinichena l'regel acher. Don't leave it over to the next holiday. Amai lav t'na'ai. Isn't this a machloket tanaim? Lo. No, he says, hadikatani yinichena. The one who teaches leave it over Rabbi Yehuda. That's the view of Rabbi Yehuda. V'hadikatani lo yenichena, and the one who teaches we don't leave it over, Rabbanan, it's the rabbis. V'tisbara, and is that that's what you think? Ha, Rabbi Yehuda Yigmor Kamar. No, it's Rabbi Yehuda who said he can finish it. He can go on to continue to sell it, okay, after the holiday. Ella hadikatani lo yenichena. But here, what do we say? When it teaches you don't leave it over, Rabbi Yehuda. That's Rabbi. V'hadikatani yenichena Rabbanan. And here where it teaches to leave it, that's the rabbis. Umay lo yenichena. What do we mean then when we say don't leave it over? She'ein sarich lahanicha. That there is no need to leave it over. That's the point. Okay, in other words, ideally that they would use it up during the holiday. Okay, especially if you've got an 8-day holiday, okay, or 7-day holiday there's a chance that if you open one, you would use up that open bottle. Matnitin, a new Mishnah. Misha avar haregel. Okay, since we referred to the issue before of what happens after the holiday, okay, we go on with this Mishnah. Misha avar haregel ma'avirin al taharat hazara. Okay. So in this particular Mishnah, what happens, we're going to say, when the holiday is over, okay, what is the status then of the temple utensils? Okay.
Which have been used.
So do we need then to be mataher these utensils? Okay, once the holiday is over. After all, you have all these variety of people, and even with the drasha that says we consider them as if they're chaverim, do we need to then be mataher the temple utensils? Particularly if we know you've got replacements. Okay. So the Gemara says, what happens? Avar haregel yom shishi. Okay, when the holiday ends, on what night? Thursday night. In other words, close to Shabbos, right? Lo hayu ma'avirin mipnei kvod haShabbat. They didn't then take those utensils and immerse them, okay, because the Kohanim were busy preparing for Shabbat. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, aflo b'yom chamishi, even if it's Wednesday night. Okay, also, she'ein haKohanim pnuyim, okay, because the Kohanim were so busy, okay, where they were busy getting ready because they still had whatever they had to do for Thursday and for Shabbat. Okay, so the Gemara goes on. Tana.
She explains there's so much cash.
Right, that's an example. That would be one example, right? Okay, that you've got the deshin to take care of, right? Okay. Right? In other words, you'd have to call out more than just the team that was due that week. All right? Right? Couldn't they do it? Good question. All right? She'ena kohanim pnuyim milahotzi b'deshin. Why couldn't they do it? The Gemara gives us an answer. Tana, what does it mean that they were not pnuyim? She'ena kohanim pnuyim milahotzi b'deshin. Because that they were not enough kohanim, they weren't available to remove all the ash. Okay? Think of it just real quick for a second. What did they have to do to clean all the ash? Okay? Besides taking it off the Mizbeach, and besides all the pile that's probably at the foot of the Mizbeach, and probably then having to bring it out to the location outside the city. Right? So you would need at least, in my opinion, briefly, at least 3 teams.
Well, there are tens of thousands of korbanos. It's a
Okay.
huge-
So that's okay, and even that might not have been enough. Okay. All right. So new Mishnah. Matnitin Ketzad Ma'avirin al Taharat Azara. So what did they do then? Okay, in terms of the purification of the area. Matbilin et kelim shahayu b'mikdash. They would immerse the kelim that were in the mikdash, right? Va'omrin lahem. All right, and they would say to the Amei Haaretz, Kohanim that are Amei Haaretz, Hisharu shelo tigu b'shulchan. Be careful, don't touch the table. Okay, so quickly, what's somebody going to ask? Why Dafka only mention the shulchan, right? What about other utensils that are in the base of Mikdash, right? And, okay. So, okay, well, you've got other utensils, but why that? We're going to get that. Well, right, we're going to get to that. Okay, all right. So we're going to see why did this text particularly say the shulchan? The Gemara continues. Kol hakelim, all right. Shahayu b'mikdash yesh lahem shneim ushlishim. All of the utensils, the items. Okay, connected with the base of Mikdash, they have seconds and thirds. In other words, they have replacement utensils. She'im nitma'u harishonim, that if the first use ones became tameh, yaviu shni'im tachteyan, they can bring replacement utensils. Kol hakelim shahayu b'mikdash, tu'unin tfilah, all of the utensils that were utilized in the Beit HaMikdash required tefillah. Now we're going to get further clarification. What items did not need tefillah? Chutz mizbach hazahav, with the exception of the golden altar, umizbach hanechoshet, and the copper altar. Why? Mipnei shehein kekarka, kedivrei Rabbi Elazar. Why? Because they are considered, so to speak, like ground, attached to the ground. That's the view of Rabbi Elazar. The Chachamim Omrim, Mipnei Shehein Mitzupim, because they are coated with gold.
Only place.
In other words, they're plated. Okay? So we see already now what happens as a result of the Gemara, of the Mishnah, clarifying that for us. We're still not satisfied with the earlier statement of the Mishnah because the Mishnah had only referred to the Shulchan. Isn't there still something else that the Mishnah should be asking about? Namely, the menorah. Okay? So now we go on. Tana, says the Gemara. Hizaru Shema tegu b'shulchan u'bemenorah. Now we have both of these items mentioned in this bright. Okay, Vitana didan. So the Gemara asks, in our Tana, my Tama lo tani menorah. Why didn't our Tana in the Mishnah initially raise and state the menorah as well? Okay, Shulchan Kativ Beit Tamid. The answer might be that with regards to the Shulchan, we have that the Torah specifically says Tamid, there has to be eternal, ongoing, I'm going to say. Okay? That's the point. In other words, you always have to have lechem apanim there. Okay? You take on Shabbos, you take it out, but the same Shabbos you put new in. It's got to be continuous. That's how I'm explaining Tamid for the moment. Okay? Translated other ways too, but okay. Menorah, lo kativ batamid. Then with menorah, it's not written in the Torah. Ve'idach, on the other hand, kevan dichtiv ve'et menorah nochach hashulchan. since the Torah does specifically spell out, okay, that the menorah is in juxtaposition opposite the Shulchan, Keman dichtiv ba tamid dami. One is therefore saying it's as if it's like the same thing as the Shulchan and therefore must be ongoing. Okay? Ve'idach, the other, hahu likboa la makom hu da'at. And the other one said that the pasuk simply is there to designate for us the location of the menorah. Okay? Why? V'tepokli, the kli eitz ha'asui lenachatu. All right? So therefore, if that's the case, is the Gemara derive it from the fact that maybe we say, since it's a utensil originally made from wood, and it's to rest there. In other words, it's to be in a fixed place, okay? That's the reason. The called kli eitz asui lenachet lo mitameh. And any utensil made of wood that is assigned to rest in a fixed place doesn't become tameh. My tama, what's the reasoning?
You tell the Kahanim not to
Right?
touch it.
Dumia de sak ba'ina. We might say, however, that the issue is that it has to be similar to a bag. Okay? In other words, it has to be able to have, like we just saw, a toch. It has to have inside a bowl, a container event, right? Mas,
Candy.
right? Right? Masak metaltel malo varekam. The same way a bag, a sack, okay, can be transported regardless if it's full or if it's empty. Afkol metaltel malo rekam. So anything else that can be transported regardless of if it's full or empty. Hainami metaltel malo varekam hu. Reish Lakish. But this also can be transported, whether it's empty or full, according to Reish Lakish. And we're applying that to the Shulchan. The Amar Reish Lakish, okay, Reish Lakish, my dichtiv, where is it written? Al HaShulchan HaTahor. It says on the Shulchan that is Tahor. Miklau Shahu Tameh, which therefore tells us it's capable of becoming tamei. Va'amai, on what basis do we say this? After all, we just said kli eitz ha'asui lenachet, who that it is a wooden utensil, all right, that it's made to rest in a fixed place, and therefore ve'eno mikabel tuma, that it should not then be susceptible to tuma. Ela milamed shemagbihin oto umarin bo le'olei regalim lechem hapanim. Why? Because we say that on the holiday they actually lift the entire shulchan and show it to the olei regel, and show it to the pilgrims, so to speak. Okay. Va'omrim lehem, and they say to them, Ru'uchi batan lifnei hamakom. Okay, so we say, see how beloved we are to the Kadosh Baruch. So the Gemara then says, Siluko kasiduro. Its removal, it's like its insertion. Okay, right? Da'amar Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, as he said, Nes gadol ne'asa b'lechem hapanim. Don't we know that there's a great miracle done with regards to the lechem hapanim? Kesiduro kach siluko. The same way that the fresh is put in, so it remains in that fresh status when they remove it. Okay? Shene'amar, as it says, l'shum lechem chom b'yom hilakcho. Okay? That's the case. Now, what happens, right? So here we come to the following, right? So we raised the question before about the shulchan possibly becoming tamei. But we argued if it's a klietz l'nachet, it shouldn't be. So now the Gemara goes on to say, okay, what's the issue? V'tepok li mishum tzipui. So what about the other argument that said because it's coated, it's plated? Okay, all right, the Tatanan, because here we teach as follows: Hashulchan v'hadol paki, the shulchan and the tripod. I'm going to translate dolpaki in that case. Okay, is a tripod. It's a small table with 3 legs. Okay, shenifchatu. Okay, right. Oh, shechifan b'shayish. Okay, that they were prepared, or they were coated with marble. V'shiyer bahem makom hanachat kosot, and there was enough room on them to be able to leave certain utensils, cups, for example. Tameh. Okay, those are examples of I'll call it for the moment furniture. Okay, that are plated, but they are still capable of becoming tameh.
There's a patch of wood.
Okay,
filled in.
so that there is still an available. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, but Rabbi Yehuda says, Makom hanachat achatichot. What about the fact that you have a place that's adequate to put pieces of meat or other pieces of other things? Okay,
It has to be big enough both for cups and for other food.
okay, well, that's could be. V'chitema, and if you want to say shani atse shitim, so now we're going to say, wait a second, you said if it was a wood item, it was coated. Okay, there's an issue. Maybe it depends on the kind of wood that's used.
So
Okay, so that's the case. And if you want to say shani eitz atse shitim, that olive wood is different, the chashive velo batle, that it's such significance, it's of such high value, and it doesn't become batel. Hanechel reish lakish. That's acceptable to the view of reish lakish. The amar lo shanu ela b'kli achsalgin, that was really only taught in regards to wood that was made from, the translation I had was ebony wood. Haba'im midinat hayam, that comes from across the sea. Aval b'kli mesami. Okay, I'm sorry, achsalin is more valuable wood. But with kli mesamin, kli, that wood that's more local, that's ebony wood, lo batle, it doesn't become batul, shapir. Okay, that's better. Ela Rabbi Yochanan, but what about the view of Rabbi Yochanan? The Amar, who said afilu b'kli mesamin nami batle, that even with less valuable, I don't know why ebony would be less valuable, but it's closer, okay, right, as opposed to other wood, okay, it's being shipped, right? My ikalamemar, what can we say there? B'chitema, and if you want to say kan b'tzipui omed, kan b'tzipui she'ena omed. On the one hand, we say its coating is like a standing or a fixed coating.
it's attached.
In other words, it's thicker and it's directly, I'm going to say, impressed onto the wood. Okay, here we're talking about a covering that's not like that. Ha ba'imine. Here we ask as follows: Reish Lakish me Rav Yochanan, b'tzipui omeid or b'tzipui she'ena omeid.
Does it make a difference?
Okay, does it make the difference? The quality and the workmanship of the coating. Okay, bechupa et levaz b'zav. Do we say that it simply covers it like a kind of handle or rim, or b'she'eno chupa et levaz b'zav, or it doesn't cover it like a kind of handle or rim? Va'amarle, he said to him, lo shna b'tzipui omeid, V'lo shna b'tzipui she'eino omeid. It doesn't make a difference, the quality of that covering. Lo shna b'chupa et levaz vazav, v'lo shna b'she'eino chupa et levaz vazav. And it doesn't make a difference whether it is covers the rim or not. All right, I'm just going to go over a tiny bit. Elashani, okay, Shulchan Derachmana, Korea 8. Okay, why? Because it's called,
Itself
says it's considered wood. Dichtiv Hamizbeach 8 Shalosh Amot Gavoa Va'arko Shtayim Amot Miktzatav Lo Va'archo Kirotav 8 V'Yidaber Elai Zeh HaShulchan Asher Lifnei Hashem. Okay, and we'll stop right there. We'll pick up tomorrow. Okay. Yeah, we generally don't go away.
Rabbi Green?
Yeah.
Say kasher with Hanani.
Yes, Rabbi Hanani ben Kashmir Tzekash Baruch Hu's good. Yosef Fichach Bilam Trum Mitzvot. Shnei Amar Enek Vitzman Tzedkol Yagil Torah V'Yadir Rabbanan Kadosh.
Alam, Lalamel, Mayas, Torah.